Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you are listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base, which, of course, is our goal. Last night, Donald Trump appeared on 60 Minutes. Now, remember, he'd had a lawsuit against 60 Minutes, which was finally settled. But he decided to appear on 60 Minutes. And let me just summarize a few key points. First, when it comes to ICE, images were presented of ICE really abusing power. And the president said, they have not gone far enough. It disturbed me, because they've gone much too far. And on the question of tariffs coming before the United States Supreme Court, he is certain, he hopes, that he will win. But the question that was not posed is, if the court rules against him, will he obey? And no Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine. That was a surprise, in a way, because he had indicated earlier that he might send Tomahawk missiles. Now that he's not, where does that leave Zelensky and the Ukrainians? And of course, he talked about what is going on in Nigeria and the killing of Christians. We're not going to allow this to happen, he said. And what's he going to do about it? And of course, Venezuela. What is happening in Venezuela? What will the administration do? And of course, I cannot stop without talking about the fact that tomorrow there will be an election in New York City, and he is threatening that if Mondami wins, there will be no federal funds, because he calls him a communist. I must tell you, it was as close to an irrational presentation as I have ever heard, and it disturbs me, because he is the president of the United States. The question of prosecutors in the Justice Department being purged, no doubt the question of what is happening when his name, Donald Trump's name, is removed and the January 6th insurrection is canceled from an indictment. These are real issues, and there is a purge in the DOJ. And of course, we all know that by a vote of 50 to 46, tariffs were eliminated, theoretically, if the vote mattered, by the Senate, with 4 Republicans joining in. Of course, we know it doesn't matter because, frankly, Donald Trump knows that that resolution is non-binding. There are real concerns that all of us should have about what is happening in Washington. And let me continue on this vein with these points as well. Trump has now said that there is a limit of 7,500 annual refugees in this country. That's it. And he's counting on them coming from South Africa, white South Africans. And of course, Trump hinting that the United States may resume nuclear testing after 30 years. All of these questions were posed by us last week and today, and yet there are no answers to these questions. I received an email from a listener who lives in Oregon. Tim, I'm referring to you. And he said, did you listen to the extended version of 60 Minutes? It's even more disturbing. And the answer is, of course, it's more disturbing. Donald Trump's goal is to be the great disruptor. But, my friends, here is the issue that bothers me the most. The House of Representatives is not in session. We are now approaching today the 34th day of Congress, that is the House, not being in session. We have a government shutdown that is the second longest in history. And there seems to be an impotence. Donald Trump last night said, okay, open up the government and we'll talk about health care. Well, no, I think it should work the other way. The president says he has ideas on health care. Let's lay them out. Let's see if we can reach a compromise. And if we can, well, then let the Democrats vote to reopen the government. But what Donald Trump is doing is switch and bait. That's what he's doing. But the simple truth is, we have many, many issues which need to be confronted. And it is clear to me that the President of the United States is central in all of this. I am often reminded of the story told during the Civil War of Lincoln's cabinet meeting and there being a vote. And everyone voted aye, and one person voted nay. And the one person was Abraham Lincoln. And of course, his was the only vote that really counted. This is a serious matter of constitutional proportion because we do not have a balance of power. I spoke last week about the fact that retired Justice Anthony Kennedy talked specifically about the need to strengthen the balance of power, three co-equal branches of government. That is clearly not the case today. The unitary executive seems to be the way Donald Trump and the Republicans are going to go. Tomorrow, there will be an election, and we will see how that goes. We'll be watching carefully in New Jersey and Virginia to see whether the Democrats take those gubernatorial campaigns. But there is also the race in New York City. And do you understand what Donald Trump is basically doing is saying that if Mondami wins, he's going to cut funds to New York City, the largest city in America. And what does that mean for the idea of sending National Guard or ICE into New York City in greater numbers? All of these questions remain unanswered. I want to say one thing before I close about the race in New York City. The fact that Mondami is going to beat Cuomo seems to be a fact. I'm not sure it is until the votes come in, but I want to explain to you my unease. My unease is based on the fact that the Jewish community in New York City, the Jews of New York, many of them, feel that Mondami is antithetical to their point of view. Now, I want everyone to know that there are some Jews who support Mondami, but they are not the dominant majority. There is no question about it. In the pre-election polling, that is to say, people who are going to vote, older people are voting in a higher proportion than anyone expected, and younger people are now turning out in higher numbers. What will this mean for New York City? And the day after, that's right, on Wednesday morning, where will we stand in terms of the future of the Democratic Party? And how will Jews in America react? One article that I have been reading through suggests that this is a real challenge for Jews in America, that the position of Mondami is so opposite the view of most Jews. Well, how will he deal with that? And will he, when Benjamin Netanyahu comes to New York for any reason, move to arrest him? There are real questions here. And may I say, we've only just begun. Donald Trump is the center of attention. What he does and how he does it will be paramount in our discussions. What the Supreme Court does is going to be critical to our discussions, particularly on the question of tariffs. And make no mistake, the results of this election, whether in New Jersey or Virginia or in New York City, will be hotly debated and discussed in the days ahead. And that's why I'm here, because we will talk about it here on Around the Political World with John Rothman. So I want you to stay tuned. Thank you for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. Of course, I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along and let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which is, of course, our goal. I want you all to know that I read carefully what you send to me, LinkedIn, Facebook, and my personal email, as well as the calls that come through. And I'm grateful for your feedback. And to Gogo Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast, who makes everything happen, Gogo, thank you very much. All right, we'll be watching all day today, all day tomorrow, and into Wednesday. What happens? I can hardly wait. I am John Rothman. See you tomorrow, right here on Around the Political World with John Ruffman.